It's time for the big show with Andy Gallo and Country Jim.
Well, hello, everybody. I'm Andy Gallo.
And I'm Country Jim.
And welcome to the podcast, everybody. Glad to have you along with us. We've got our guest with us here. We got Joy Ezell, booking agent, promotions, public relations. Welcome. Glad to have you here, Joy.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
And a friend of Country Jim's.
That's right.
By the way, too.
Well, one of my dearest friends.
Yeah, well, you got a lot of those.
And probably my wife would say one of her very dearest friends also.
Now, let me just say this before we get going real good here. You have told me stories of where you were, people knew you over, who was it? Bill Monroe one time, they came over and said hello to you and didn't say nothing to Bill. Well, you tell the story now, what happened to you when you and Joy, y'all had went out the other night to see some folks play. Tell us the story, what happened there.
Well, whenever Joy comes to town, she's come to Texas on and off for many years. And making a connection with artists and venues and going to hear live music, that's really at the very core of who she is and what she loves to do. We're kind of starting at the end and going backwards, but I'm totally cool with doing that. But that's
my fault. I got you going.
Yeah, I can work with whatever you do, buddy. So a week or so ago, she came into town, and I mean, she gets in on a Friday, and she's already got a place for us to go on Friday night. We go to a place called the Armadillo Palace that does live music I've played there many years ago. And so a very famous Texas band, a rockabilly band called 2 Tons of Steel, was performing there. Kevin, the band leader. And I've opened for him at Green Hall with my daughter Leslie. His bass player was a good friend of mine. Kind of expect that he might possibly know who I am. But right in the middle of his set, he looks over there where I'm sitting with Joy, and instead of saying, "Hi, Country Jim," he says, "Hi, Joy." And of course, as soon as the show was over, he comes over and has a conversation with her, talking about times past and present. Yeah. Then the next night, we were at Rockefeller's, a long-time club, and there were 3 acts. Mm-hmm. Johnny Falstaff was the main act. Amber Digby was on the program.
Right.
And also, who's that third guy? Well, anyway, she had met him, but of course Amber and Falstaff was very, very excited about seeing her, called her by name, and you and I we did a podcast called Famous People We Had Met. You did George Strait, I did Bill Monroe, Colonel Sanders, etc.
Right.
This lady could do one. She could do one, famous people she met that I would like to meet.
Right. Yeah.
But she did all of that just from a love of the music. Mm-hmm. And going to, I don't know how many times, she couldn't tell you how many times she's gone to Nashville, hung out for a week or so. And she was able to do this because she's an outside rep for a big company. And so she could arrange.
Now, this is a funny story. He told me what you do as a full-time gig, okay?
I have a real job.
We won't mention the name of the tool company, but it is a well-known.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Kind of a snappy name. Yeah. If you want to.
Those kind of tools that you snap on.
Yeah, those right there. Those are the ones.
Company like that.
Those are the ones.
But I want her to start by telling about, because like I said, I lived there in that little town. Mm-hmm. She lived about 10 miles south of Perry.
About 20. Yeah.
And about the farm and her ancestors owning that. She had her favorite cow. She said had a calf yesterday. So Joy, I keep trying to find a place to shut up. but
That's hard to do.
for me it is, yeah. But I love country music because it is a part of who I've always been. I lived where we didn't have running water and we didn't have indoor plumbing. And I actually give young people today who just been raised in the city, I give them a lot of slack about understanding why they like music that's quite different from the music that I like. But tell about your background.
Well, my mother was a music lover. She loved gospel music. And she would take me to the all-night gospel sings when I was just a little girl. And about 11 or 12 o'clock, I'd get kind of sleepy, so I'd just find some place to curl up and go to sleep. But we'd be there, nearly all night long. She was real good friends with Miss Eva Mae Lefevre from the Lefevre family. And she knew all the Sunshine Boys and the Blackwood Brothers and the Happy Goodman family. Oh, yeah. Wow. She was friends with all of those folks. Yeah. And Miss Eva Mae she and her family would come stay with us when they were playing anywhere around us, that was within driving distance of getting there to their show. And so I got to know all those folks pretty well. And my mother just made me love music. And I knew the words to every gospel song. I could sing along with them. When I was I think I was either 6 or 7, Mother was working for a car dealership over in Jacksonville. And they gave her tickets to the Elvis Presley show there at the Florida Theater. And that was the first one where Elvis was actually mobbed. And she took me. We had great seats right down front. And, of course, I was just enthralled. I was this little kid. All these teenage girls were there, and they all looked so pretty. And they were all screaming. And I thought, I have arrived. This is it. So she just kind of instilled it into me, I guess. And I've loved music ever since.
So what got you into the promotions end of it?
Well, I met Dale Watson quite a few years ago. I used to own some trucks, and we hauled cattle from Florida out here, out west, out to Texas, all the way to California, to Colorado. And we used to stop at a little truck stop in Longview, Texas, and there was a guy there who sold bootleg cassette tapes of Dale Watson.
I remember you getting those. Those used to be real popular.
Oh, yeah, man. Well, that was the only way I could find his music. Oh, okay, so I bought every Dale Watson cassette tape I could get from the guy. Yeah. And had them in all 3 of our trucks because I didn't know which one I was going to be driving next, and I wanted to have my music there. Right. I had a box of Dale Watson tapes.
That might have been about what year?
That had to be in about the 80s. It was in the 80s. So it must have been about 86 or 87 or something.
Tell about getting to hear him live. When did you meet him first time?
I was working in Austin.
Which is where
selling tools, okay? Yeah. And found out that he was going to be at the Continental Club, and I got to go. And, of course, he talks to everybody after the show. So I introduced myself to him, and we were talking, and I said, I have several boxes of your old bootleg cassette tapes. He said, you do?
He said, thank you very much.
I told him, I said, yeah. I said, I used to buy them at the Longview, Texas truck stop. He said, so that's where they were coming from. I said, that was it. So he and I got to be friends, and we've been friends ever since. Wow. And worked with him a little bit, helping him kind of organize and get the Ameripolitan thing going. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So he's just a great entertainer. He really is.
Tell about the Ameripolitan.
Well, he did it to honor people that are writing good music today that maybe sounds like a little bit like our old music that we love so much. Mm-hmm. Carrying on that tradition of good old country music instead of that new fram-bam Nashville noise. I call it the 3 N's. Nasty Nashville noise. It's awful.
We did a podcast on that. On that kind of music. And it was,
Yeah. When you go to Broadway now, there's only a couple of places where you can go actually listen to country music. You know, you can go to Roberts and you can go to Layla's and the Acme Feed and Seed place. There's 3 or 4 places. The American Legion, Post 82.
Right.
You know, you can go hear some good music there.
Right.
But
You were just up there a month or so ago?
I sure was.
Good.
Yep. And it was a wild time. It's mostly bachelorette parties now is the
Wow.
thing.
Isn't that crazy?
They're everywhere.
Wow.
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy?
But you got to snoop out the real country music now in Nashville. But it's there. There's so many talented young people. It's just incredible. And you want to help them along. You know, you
Sure.
want to push them along
Sure.
and help them along if you can.
I think a lot of people, they would go to Nashville, and you hear the stories all the time. They went to Nashville as a writer and hung out on some doorstep waiting for somebody to pick them up, you know, and waiting for some label or some publishing company or something, you know, to say, hey, look, come write for us. Or, you know, you hear those stories all the time. And
Well, it's like Randy Travis was the dishwasher at the Nashville Palace.
Yeah.
That's how
Isn't that crazy?
That's what he was doing. Yeah.
do you hear those stories anymore, though?
Oh yeah,
You really?
yeah,
Okay.
they're still there.
Right. Yeah.
They're still there, working some job somewhere just to get by.
Right,
Just
right.
trying to get in the music business.
Yeah.
Yeah. And nowadays they put 3 or 4 of them in a room and tell them to write a song about a beer can or something stupid, you know, a pickup truck or
Or
her pretty legs or you know something that
Yeah.
just one subject.
So move over to Asleep at the Wheel. Don't you have something to do with their website?
I do. I run their fan page on Facebook.
that's pretty cool.
I'm their moderator kind of person, administrator. Well, we try to let people know where they're going to be next so they don't miss out on a show. You know, a lot of times people will be in a town where they're going to be, but they
Right.
don't know it because they're not paying attention.
Right.
So we
Right.
try to let people that are interested in Sleep at the Wheel know that when they're going to be in their own town and go get a ticket so you can get in there and see them.
That is good music there. I'm
That
gonna tell you,
is.
Oh, yeah.
They have not changed since way back
I
in the
love them
70s.
so much.
You know, they're just so good. You know, yeah.
They're just so good. Every one of them are wonderful musicians.
Now, who-
Ray knows how to pick them.
he does, definitely so.
Yeah.
Who was the girl that now this is a trivia question here. Who was the girl that sang with them back in the 70s? You know, on the letter that Johnny Walker read, and
what was her name?
there was a few others. Remember, there was a girl that sang with
there
him.
was. Yes.
And I always wondered when I was in the radio business, you know, I would go, who is that girl? Because it didn't
She's
change.
such a beautiful voice.
Yeah. So
And I can't think of her name right this minute.
And-
His
and-
latest girl that sang with him was Katie Shore.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And Katie is wonderful. Fiddle player, singer. She's good all the way around.
Yeah. That is
Yeah.
good country music
Oh,
business.
Well, I know what I
A lot
want you to
of
talk
them.
about. I know what I want you to talk about. Talk about new up and coming. Talk about the guy we saw last night.
Last night we saw this guy from Mississippi named Aaron Vance. He's
Okay.
from Avery, Mississippi, and he has the most beautiful voice. But you can tell he sings from his heart. He writes his music, and it is honest.
Right.
It's honest from his heart.
Yeah.
His daddy was a preacher. Apparently, he grew up poor, and this is his first tour ever out, and he's touring with Joshua Ray Walker of all people,
Right.
who's also quite wonderful. What a beautiful voice he's got, and so talented, and he's got such a good band.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Walker was on Tonight Show
Yes.
in February.
Really? Okay.
He is really spiking. I think
So I guess he's with a label then, I guess.
He's doing well.
maybe he's not with a major label yet.
I think
don't-
he's gotten signed.
Has he?
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
Joy's introduced me to a lot of people. The Reeves brothers.
I love those boys. They're from Arkansas, and they're just good, honest, good old talented young men. There's not a mean bone in their bodies. They're just sweet guys, you know, and super talented.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
They're
we
writing some great songs.
we got them booked into. They were in town playing in some other place, and so we got them to come up and do a show at the Track Shack Ice House. And I mean, the crowd just went crazy over them. for a year, all you could hear was, "When are you having those Reeves brothers back?"
Wow. Yeah. So are they? I guess they're real country then.
Really country.
Really
yeah.
country.
The real thing.
Real.
They've written some great songs. What's the California song that I like so well?
It gets cold at night in California.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. But, COVID really put a lot of dent in the careers. I'm really hoping that things are really going to be opening back up and turning around for
Seems like
It hurt a lot of people.
I'm sure.
Yeah. And the venue
Closed a lot of my favorite restaurants, by golly, I tell you.
I know that's right. And we have to help support the venues. I don't ask for free tickets. I always buy my ticket because I think every little bit helps them.
Sure.
So I would encourage people to get your tickets and go to hear people. Go to hear live music. It'll do your heart good.
Live music is good. I love live music.
Nothing like it.
Oh yeah, I love it.
Right.
I love it.
Yeah.
So
when Joy comes into town, I need to be well rested.
I tell him to sleep and rest up before I get there because we're going to be busy.
Buddy, I'm telling you, we will have, when she leaves town this next week, we will have gone to about 5 venues.
wow. And then tonight you got Red Brick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Y'all are going over there as soon as you leave here, and
Tomorrow morning we'll be there.
Tomorrow morning
Morning
we'll be at
too?
the
Okay.
Sunday Gospel
Okay.
Brunch,
All
and
right.
then we're going to down near in connection with the Continental Club. It's called the Big Top to hear.
Josh Headley. Have you heard him?
I have not heard him.
Oh my goodness, you've got to hear him.
Yeah,
He's originally from Florida,
Okay.
and I know his mother real well. And Josh
There's a
is
connection.
is
There's a connection.
fine fiddle player.
Really? Wow.
In Nashville, they call him Mr. Jukebox.
Oh, wow.
Because you could mention any song to him, and he can play it and sing it. He knows the words.
Who was it that we were talking about one time? It was
Gary
somebody-
Brock.
Gary, Gary can do that, but also somebody said Mark Chestnut was the kind of person that you
That's
could say,
right.
hey, play me that old song that goes like this, and he's going, oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, I know that.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and
And he
boom.
does.
And he
He's
does.
good, too.
Yeah.
Yes.
But Gary's like that, too. You're right. Because I remember when he came over and we did the podcast, and before we started, we were talking a little bit. He said, hey, whatever you want me to play, I'll...
Name a song.
Yeah. He's
You know,
good.
he played a lot of gigs with me, and it's a downer when people come up and make requests and having to say over and over again, sorry, we don't know that.
I know that.
Sorry, we don't
Yep.
know that. Sorry, we don't know that.
Yep.
But I'm telling you, you could not stump that guy. If, on occasion, you could stump him on a song, he would say, well, but here's another big song by that same artist.
Right. Try to help satisfy their craving for whatever it may be.
Well, especially if they're going to leave a good tip.
Yeah. He's really good. Talking about Gary, he's really good and at the Johnny Bush stuff, and that kind of thing. So, but, yeah.
You know, Joy, we've been talking about roots country, but I know about you that that you've also had a great love for bluegrass.
I do. I love bluegrass music.
And when I lived in Perry, what I wasn't aware of somehow, because I was already into bluegrass. I was into bluegrass since I was a kid in Tennessee. But here I am living in Perry, Florida, and I lived in Tampa before I got to Perry, and I played with bluegrass pickers in Tampa, but I was unaware of the fact that Jim Walter Holmes, remember?
I do remember those.
Remember those guys?
When we got married, Bonnie and I, we were looking at those. We're going, we can probably get one. Because back then you could get a home for, I don't know, 25, 30,000. Wasn't finished. But I was semi-handy. I thought, well, maybe we can, figure it out.
You could live in it, couldn't you?
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
I mean, hey.
And they guaranteed that it would have at least one window and one door.
at least.
At least. But they brought, from Nashville, they brought Jim and Jesse and the Virginia Boys to Live Oak, which is, 30, 40 miles from Perry?
Yeah.
And also the Stanley Brothers from Southeast Virginia. And I really wasn't, when I was in Perry, I wasn't aware of the fact that those people were working out of there, but I never knew of them doing any shows around our part of the country. Did you?
Oh, yeah.
Really?
Yeah, my mother took me to all of them.
So that was kind of.
Weren't you there when Farron Young came to town?
I don't remember that.
Oh, my. He
That
put
had
on
to
a
been-
good
that
show.
had to been an experience.
He
right
put
there.
on a good show. Yeah.
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 I've heard some interesting stories about Farron.
Oh, yeah.
So I mean, funny stories.
They
Yeah,
called him
that's
the
it.
sheriff, remember?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
He was wonderful.
Joy, she loved the music so much, and she loved hearing the instrumentalists play, that she just thought, I think I'd love to be able to do that. So she bought a banjo,
Yeah.
and she bought a steel guitar,
Oh wow.
And a mandolin,
and a mandolin.
and a guitar,
Yeah,
a piano.
yeah.
So which one do you play?
None of them. My mother made me take piano lessons when I was a kid, and my piano teacher did not want me to sing while I was playing. And it seemed to me that it made it easier for me to play if I could sing along. But apparently I had a terrible voice, and she wanted me to shut up. And so she would just tell me, don't sing, play.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I eventually got tired of that. So I quit taking piano lessons. But when I did get grown, I thought I wanted to learn how to play a banjo, so I bought one. And I got so frustrated with myself that I actually gave it to my neighbor to keep from bashing it into little pieces. And I had a wonderful music teacher. Irvin Young was his name, from Tallahassee. He was a music professor at FSU. And he could play anything. I mean, he was wonderful. And he was so patient with me. And he was teaching me how to play a steel guitar. Well, I actually memorized how to play 3 or 4 Bob Wills songs, but I can't tell you what any of it means or what key it's in or what I'm doing with it. But I actually just memorized it. Was how I learned how to do it.
Have you heard Caleb? Have you heard Caleb
Is he
play?
fantastic
Man,
or what?
I tell you what.
I mean, see here, I'm so jealous of that.
I know, me too.
Somebody that can pick up a banjo or just go sit down at a steel guitar and play it in 2 or 3 days.
Well, it's like,
I mean, that's just...
It's like Randy tonight that you're going to go see, Randy and Hammer. He's like the same way. I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I knew him when he played back in the 90s when he basically just played banjo. And then all of a sudden he picks up a guitar and now he's on upright bass. Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Or-
Tonight is. Yeah.
He can play anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
So I'm jealous of people that can actually play. I appreciate it. I appreciate that music, but I don't have any talent.
Yep. I know the feeling.
Joy, before we run out of town, I'd like maybe to get a little country philosophically.
That's a long word there.
That's too big a word for you, Jamie.
Man.
Actually, I like polysyllabic words.
Okay, go ahead.
A friend of mine, I told him, I said, I like polysyllabic words. And he said, it's polysyllabic. And I said, well, actually, it depends on where you put the emphasis.
Okay.
All right.
What was her question now? What was you going to ask her?
I forgot.
All right, here's our struggle with roots music. Here, to me,
Yeah.
it's the future.
Sure. Sure.
I was playing at Cosmos one time, a club down in Houston, and John Evans came to hear me. He's a successful rockabilly artist, and he came up to me after the show, and he said, "I want to say something to you." He said, "This old classic country you're doing," he said, "I don't really see where that's going to go anywhere. I really don't see you're going to make any money at that."
Yeah.
And I thought, oh, this is not going well. But then he said, if you can somehow keep doing it, I wish you well, because I think it's great music.
Yeah.
The
Repetition.
Geesenslaws did a song called, they call it country, we call it bad rock and roll.
Yeah.
Where can our music maybe the American Politan thing and Dale and these new artists, maybe they crack the door open a little bit. Maybe they give us a little hope. Is there anything you want to say about all that?
Yeah, I think that there are so many talented young people today that are more into the rock and roll type music, but they would go more towards our old good country traditional music if they just listened to it a little bit.
Yeah,
if they just paid attention a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like rock and roll too.
Yeah,
I mean,
I do too.
I like bluegrass. I like all of it.
Yeah, that's what we were talking about one day. I like it. I like all kinds of stuff, but there's a place for it, and it's not on a country radio station.
That's exactly right.
Or in a country format.
Yes.
Whatever,
When given the choice,
that's the
I'm
problem.
always going to listen to good country music.
Me too. And I think that's the problem I have. It's not that I don't like the new country, because there are some artists that are okay.
Yeah.
I'm not really a big rap fan, but there are some artists that are still pretty good out there. But yeah, I'm like you. I can have a problem with the mixture.
I venture off into rockabilly a little bit. I like it.
Well, look,
because it's kind of like rock and roll.
Yeah,
the old rock and roll that we used to listen to.
You go back to the 50s, Jerry Lee Lewis.
There you go.
Elvis Presley, quite a few others.
There you go.
know, so.
That's right.
Which
is the basis for a lot of our country music
It is.
now.
It
If
is.
you think about it,
And gospel.
Jerry Lee Lewis has done everything.
Yeah, he has. Yes, he has.
He had a couple of great country albums.
Yeah.
I
Name
just-
one of his songs. That's a trivia question for you. Give me a good Jerry Lee Lewis out of the 70s.
country or rock and roll.
Country. Oh, he was country by then. Come on now, country. Come on, give me some. How about this
I'm
one?
a middle-aged crazy.
How about What Made Me Walkie Famous? Was that a good one?
Yeah, that is a good one. Made a fool out of me. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a great song.
There were slow ballads too that were great. I just
A lot of good ones, like she was saying there. The middle-aged crazy song. That was a good one.
Good song.
I got a text yesterday from a club owner who he said it's a new place that I've never played at, and he said in his text, he said, I'm going to send you some dates for the rest of the year to play at my club. That was a well-received text. I think we can say, oh, it's great music. These young artists are doing great, but where are we going to play? The guy that we heard last night, he was in Austin 3 nights ago playing. He was in San Antonio the next night. He was in Houston last night. He's in Dallas tonight. It's going. That's going well. He was on the Tonight Show. But the little local artist, there's a struggle with us finding. One of my best places to play, where I was playing 6 times a year. His son came back from Nashville, and he let his son start taking the music in a different direction. So, and I really had pretty good crowds, and he had told me that I was the best band there. But he just said finally, too much Ray Price and Bob Wills.
That's sad.
That can't be. You can't have too much Ray Price.
No.
Sorry. Or Bob Wills.
Yeah, really.
But I think it is difficult to find good places to play.
Yeah.
The Red Brick Tavern tonight, where Randy and Amber will be playing, is a small place, but
Pack them in though.
yeah, and they're glad to present that kind of music.
Very good.
Well,
man, I tell you what, it has been, believe it or not, we've been here 25 minutes.
wow.
It's crazy, isn't it? Crazy. Joy, we should appreciate you being with us.
Well, thank you very much.
And
Thank
good to
you
meet
for
you.
asking me to be
Yes,
here.
ma'am, and good to meet you.
Good
Well,
to
I've heard
meet
so
you.
many good things about you from Old Country Jim here.
Well,
Yes.
he might
I
tell a
mean,
tale every now and then.
I met every one of them.
Yeah, so, but we appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yes.
We'll see you folks on the next one.
Take care.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to The Big Show with Andy Gallo and Country Jim.
This has been a Unicap Media presentation.